Awesome. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. Today is the 13th EIP-7928 Breakout call. It's February 25th. And we have quite some items on the agenda. Nothing super new, nothing surprising. As usual, the first thing we have on the agenda, I just posted it into the chat, by the way. The first thing we have on the agenda is updates on client optimizations. Just to recall, we need the client optimizations for the repricing, benchmarking required for the Amsterdam repricing EAPs. And it would be great if we get some updates from clients about progress within the last 2 weeks on Parallel IO especially. So feel free, anyone from the client team to provide us an update.
I can start on Bezu. So we still have the different optimization already implemented. So we had time to do some optimization on the prefetch and also on some other stuff in the block access list branch. We also implemented the max item check and the unicity of the BAL items. So we are waiting for the test when they will be available. And we started to work on EIP-71, and I think it's mainly that, yeah. Yeah, it's all on Bezu side.
Great, thank you very much. Do you already have like first numbers? Did you already look into benchmarking, especially the batch IO?
Not really. We are using for the moment the DevNet 2, so it's not really interesting regarding the number we have. We didn't see a lot of differences because it's not similar to mainnet, so we are mainly working for the shadow fork of mainnet to have really good numbers.
Right, yeah, that's a good point because of course we need like realistic state to actually benchmark the batch IO. We can benchmark the parallelization. That's something we can do, especially with execution parallelization, not involving any IO or state writes. And yeah, thank you very much. Let's continue maybe with, do we have someone from Geth on the call? Okay, I don't think Jared is on the call yet. Let's skip Geth for now. Let's continue with Nethermind then. I just see Mark is also not on the call. Then we continue with Ref. Okay, I would just assume there are no updates on the optimizations there. Does Aragon have updates on the 3 different optimizations? Okay, yeah. Seems like not much changed since the last 2 weeks, so we are still at having Geth and Besu ready to be benchmarked, especially on a shadow fork. I would then pass the word. I see Jochen has his hand up anyway. I would have passed the word to you anyway because I know that you guys have already looked into benchmarking Besu and Geth on top of a shadow fork and on top of DevNet 2. So yeah, please provide us an update there.
Yes, so for the benchmarks, we are writing these benchmarks, and as you said, we indeed need to run these on top of like a state, so like mainnet state or broadnet state. The problem is that we have to fill these tests, and for this we have this testing endpoint, this new testing RPC endpoint, and that does not yet support the Amsterdam EIPs. The problem here is that we need one client which can support this endpoint, because then we can actually fill these benchmarks on top of state, because it does not make sense to run like batch IO tests on top of like empty state. So we are waiting for this. If we have this testing endpoint, then we can start to fill these benchmark tests and to actually run those. So that's the update on the benchmarking side.
Thank you very much. Just to clarify, this means we need a client that has block level access list implemented, but not any other EIP that we already have on DevNet 1 and 2. Is that right?
It depends on what we actually want to test, because so this testing endpoint, what it needs to do is it has to build blocks with the supported EIPs which we want to test. I would think that we want to target DevNet 2 or DevNet 3, so like multiple EIPs. And this is the part which needs to be supported on like the block building part. So if the client can run these blocks, then that's of course very nice. But the thing is, we need to just fill these tests once, so we can generate the payloads to benchmark these EIPs. And this is currently not yet implemented in any client. So we need one client which implements this endpoint to support like these EIPs which we want to test. And just one client is fine. Like not all the clients need this. One client to fill, and then we can actually run start filling the benchmarks and also running those.
Awesome, thank you. I saw Jared from Geff joined in the meantime. Jared, would you be willing to provide us an update on the BAL optimizations, if there are any, especially the batch IO?
Yeah, I mean, so it's like I mentioned on the channel, there's really not much has changed since the last meeting, or maybe it has, I just can't remember. So there's a few like execution option presets that I've implemented for Geth. Uh, Yeah, I mean the batch IO is able to be toggled. The parallel execution and state root is also able to be toggled. I haven't made uh I haven't really worked on that since I implemented it. I've been busy with other stuff, so there's not really an update in the last week or two.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, it seems like Geff and Beso are ready for being benchmarked in that case. I saw both clients have already provided us with the necessary flags such that we can turn the optimizations on and off, which is great. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, as soon as other clients are ready, especially since we agreed on focusing more on the batch IO, because we still need to, we not only need the batch IO to determine the final prices for the repricing changes in Amsterdam, but we also need it to determine if we want to keep the state locations in the BAL in first place. So that's why we originally said like, yeah, let's optimize the batch IO optimizations first. And like, if that means we delay, for example, the parallel state root computation, then this is fine. But this is great to hear. This means, okay, we still have like 2 clients being basically ready. And yeah, as soon as other clients get ready, just please post it into the block live access list Discord. And then we can start benchmarking more clients on a shadow fork or on DevNet 3. Great. Is there anything else before we move on the agenda regarding the optimizations that we should discuss now? Seems like not the case. Then we can move on the agenda. So the next agenda item we have is specs updates slash clarifications. And nothing major changed within the recent 2 weeks. It was more like we had 2 EIPs merged, 2 PRs merged. The first one was a clarification to the EAP how the BAL is used in the state transition function. And this is more like a clarification because some clients will pass the ball in the state transition function. And in the specs, for example, we don't do that. In the specs, you receive the ball over the engine API, you would calculate the ball hash, and then you would start executing, and you would generate a virtual ball during execution, and in the end, compare the ball hash of this virtual ball that you created during execution with the ball hash in the header that was derived from hashing the ball received over the engine API. And this is just a clarification because I know, for example, comparing Geth with the specs, this is a little bit of a different implementation, which doesn't affect like correctness at all, but more like to have that clarified in the EIP. Let me actually post the PR in the chat such that everyone can have a look while we're talking. 1 second. Someone did already. Thank you very much, Felipe. Perfect. Is there anything someone wants to discuss regarding that topic? Perfect. Yeah, this is more like a clarification than actual change. Then let's move on with the next item, which is the simplified file max item check. So we had that already before the last breakout call, but in the last breakout call, I remember Mark brought up that we might also want to account for BAL items that get into the BAL for free. And those items that enter the BAL for free are basically all connected with system contract calls, because every other item in the BAL has actually some gas attached to it. So you cannot just put something into the BAL without accessing it, which means there's always some gas cost attached. But this is not the case, for example, for everything system contract related, because no one actually pays for it. And this affects withdrawals, execution requests, or execution layer triggered exits and consolidations, and also the pre-execution system contract calls like the historical state root, historical block root hashes, and the 4788 beacon block root in the block. So what we wanted to do with this check, it should only be a safeguard against invalid blocks that take longer to execute than any valid block would do. And with this max item check, together with the other check we introduced like 2 weeks ago, where we compared the not yet accessed BAL items with the remaining gas, clients should be safe against those type of attacks. It's not a super dangerous attack, I would say, because of course it would also require the proposer to sacrifice its block. But still, we must make sure that even invalid blocks don't take longer to invalidate than a valid block takes to validate. Let me post the link of this PR into the chat. This was just a clarification of the EIP. And I know the EU's specs PR on that topic is still open and there's still some discussion. So I'm curious, maybe Felipe, do you have any more to add regarding that topic? Should we clarify something in EELS, or is everything good to go?
Yeah, so as I was reviewing the max item check PR, it looks good there. I think, between Mario and I, we were discussing that the fact that it's under security considerations, and let me see if I can pull up the actual comment and post it. But this part here, basically the word should in the PR for the spec change, it feels a little under specified whether this constraint needs to actually be there for clients, and whether it basically, here, this is the link for Mario's comment. It's basically hard to draw a very clear line on whether we can test this for clients. And so I think I think a better explanation of whether this is required or not would make this clearer, and would allow us to like actually put this in the EELS implementation and write tests for it. And I know clients are expecting tests for this, so I wanted to know how you feel about like making this a little bit more concrete and more explicit.
Yeah, it's a good point, because I was thinking about this. The thing is, we don't put the ball that you receive over the engine API. We don't have it as an argument in the state transition function. So, for example, we cannot do the check where we look at the not yet accessed ball items and compare them with the remaining gas, because we don't have the block level access list within the state transition function in the block level access list. So this is more something that would be done outside. And the thing is, theoretically, you don't need that check, because it only allows you to invalidate the ball quicker. So clients may need that just to make sure that they can invalidate balls quicker than executing the whole block. But in the end, you would arrive at the same result. So the block is invalid. It's just a matter of when would you realize that the block is invalid. So I'm not sure what is the cleanest way to implement that in EOS. One way would, of course, be to just throw the ball into the state transition function, but I think we don't do that. And then the question is, it's two things. It's first the max item check, and then the other check where we basically determine, is there enough gas available to access the remaining not yet accessed ball items. So I'm curious, how do you think? Because I think we haven't really specified this code path between the engine API and the state transition function in EOS. So basically, what happens in between there?
Yeah. No, I see what you mean. It feels like if this is some early check for clients, then maybe this could be some sort of a benchmark test for clients where, let's say there's some worst case malicious val test. And from the spec side, we could have some benchmark test that benchmarks how quickly clients can invalidate this if it feels like this is the end goal. But as far as, adding this to the spec, yeah, it's a little tricky. And having tests for something that isn't as clear in the spec. I'll have to think on this some more.
Okay. Yeah, we can also chat async, because the first thing, that max item check, we can do it in the specs. This is nice because we generate the virtual ball and we can then just validate the block level access list after execution, making sure that those that there is not like the maximum item limit is not exceeded. Like we can do that. But for the other check, that's why that was my rationale why I put like the remaining gas check in the security consideration section and the other one into the specs. But yeah, let's talk async about that and yeah, clarify that.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Perfect. Yeah, and this already brings us directly to the next topic, basically the uniqueness of ball items. This was also like recently added to the EAP. I think we are good there because many of our tests already assumed like the ball is built correctly, meaning there are no duplicated entries, for example, duplicated addresses or duplicated storage changes or anything. So I think we're good on that. But yeah, I think we still added some new tests there, right?
Yeah. from some comments on the ETH R&D. We didn't really have a whole lot of invalid tests based around duplicates and things like this. So yeah, there was a PR merged. It's not on any of the releases yet, but it should be out on the next one.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the update. Is there anything people want to discuss regarding those two topics? I see Karim is also saying in the chat that Besu is also checking the order of the keys. Do we have a test for the ordering of the BAL items being correct? I'm not sure anymore, actually. Do you know, Felipe, or maybe Rahul is on the call? Can someone
Yeah,
answer
yeah,
that?
we do
Otherwise,
have.
we do have.
Yeah, we
Okay,
do. Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
What is
Then it's
the
only, yeah, go
Rahul?
ahead.
Do you know which test this is, Rahul?
I think it's in the invalid test where we have those BAL modifiers which change the order, right? You made those API.
Yeah, yeah. I believe there we have some, and I'll double check.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Great. Is there anything the clients would like to add regarding those three topics that we discussed now? Basically, the max item check on the BAL, then also the check of remaining gas versus not yet touched BAL items, and the uniqueness of BAL items. Is there anything people want to discuss on that topic? Great. Looks like things are clear. Awesome. Then we can proceed with the next agenda item, which would be the JSON RPC PR. I saw that some clients had already implemented the JSON RPC for DevNet 2. There were some recent changes with not returning like the hex string, but instead returning the JSON object. And I would love to hear if clients have updates on that, if this is like ready for DevNet 3. Or remind me if I'm wrong. I think we said we wanted to have that at DevNet 3 already, but please correct me if I'm wrong. But I think we did. So I would just assume clients will have that implemented. What would be great if someone from client team could confirm.
Yeah, on Besu, it's already implemented yet. The API is implemented.
Awesome, thank you very much. I just posted the PR in the chat such that everyone can follow along. Yeah, it's nothing that blocks us from DevNet 2 or DevNet 3 or anything, but yeah, would be great if we can have that implemented and then get it merged. I mean, usually we should get it merged before clients implement it. So I will double check why this is not yet merged. I have to double check that. I think this will also be brought up in the RPC standards call. So I will also have to double check with Oma if she has any updates on that. Because of course, yeah, double checking with the experts on RPC is definitely the right way to go there before we merge it. Great. This was everything we had around the specs. Is there anything we should discuss this week regarding specs or test? Any updates? Looks like that's not the case, which is good. And then we have a last agenda item by Gorondan. I hope I pronounce your GitHub handle right here, who wants to talk a little bit about the feasibility of using BAL for the payload needed by partial stateful nodes. So could you give us a quick intro into what are you looking into there, and yeah, anything you would like to know about the progress here?
Hi, Tony. Hi, everyone. Nice to be participating in your call. Yes, Dan Goron, it's right enough. Together with Carlos Perez from the Ethereum stateless team, we're pushing a bit the concept of partial statefulness, and we were looking to get your people, the opinion of people that work on BAL about if we could use BAL as a vehicle for the account hash diffs, which are basically the payload that you mentioned. I left a TLDR on partial statefulness on the comment, on the call's comment. I can reiterate very quickly the idea that that's behind the partial statefulness, and that's that if we get nodes to store a minimum data set from the to persist locally a minimum part of the state, then we could get them to be coherent under the state root and basically keep up with the canonical state root or the global state root, and then be able to store only certain parts of the state. But those parts, if we can look at them from the topological, from a topology-based view, meaning for EL account state, and then contract storage and code. And there's also part of CL, which is, I didn't add, is not the scope of this call, but also CL state can be viewed, from the perspective of functional state subtrees, so to call them. So to go in straight into the point, why we wanted to talk to you guys is that we can boil our proposal into three main points. So if we can get every node to store the 32-byte commitment that constitutes the account's leaf, which is account hash, then this is a data set of approximately 10 gigs for 300 million accounts. Then the nodes would become globally root aware, so to speak. BAL already provides full state diffs, which take care of nodes updating state values. If we can add to BAL or to another vehicle the hash diffs, which are structural state, which is a structural state. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Then nodes would be able to update those stored account hashes without re-execution. And that basically unlocks the first level of partial statefulness functionality by nodes being able to update old account hash into new account hash for every address that has been touched by the blocks transaction, then rehash everything up to state root and match the result with the state root, with the root that's in the blocks header. I also added some high-level specs change proposal, and I would be very grateful if I would get some opinion on that if my assumptions were correct, meaning that we can get the pre-state captures from the transaction frame level, and that we can get the post-state values, from building BAL, from actually building BAL. That's it. Please let me know if I should continue or have an open discussion.
Yeah, thanks a lot for this intro. Very interesting topic. Let me just ask a quick question regarding partial statelessness. What would those nodes actually store? I assume they store like nonces and balancers, maybe code. Is there anything from storage they would also store?
So let's clear the name first. It's partial statefulness. So basically, it's not statelessness. It's not strong statelessness, as in stateless nodes, as we already heard it a lot of in the community and in the development in the R&D discourse. So it's partial statefulness. So they would store something. And that would be, as a minimal requirement, that would be the mapping between each address for all accounts and their account hash, which is the commitment of balance, nouns, code hash, and contract hash. What's the correct expression here? The nouns, balance, storage root, and code hash. Yeah.
Okay, and you would basically, for this to work, you will also need the account hashes to be part of the BAL. Is that correct?
Yes, the account hash diffs, meaning pre-state account hash, which basically would have to match the existing locally persisted account hash, and the new account hash, which is post execution or executing the transaction, and then we get the new the blocks transaction, and then we get a new account hash.
Okay.
And both these values should be in the payload, yeah.
And both of those values would be 32 bytes per account.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's a very interesting topic. This is definitely relevant for the future. We already talked about that a bit async. Of course, this will not happen for Glamsterdam, but this is definitely something relevant for the future that we should keep discussing. So I would say we can take this async, and it's great that we have now many of the clients also being aware of that topic. One thing I would initially say, we have to, of course, find out, well, like, what is the worst case? Like, could the BAL be inflated with or bloated with many of those 32 byte values? Initially, I would say no. Of course, for each touched account or for each changed account, you would then add 64 bytes in addition to the BAL. So we should definitely determine like what is the worst case BAL size with adding those additional bytes. But apart from that, I don't see like any issue right now. Jochen, do you want to add something to that?
Yes. So currently what you store is an address to the account hash, so that's 32 bytes. And this account hash is, I think, the hash of like the balance, the nonce, the code root, and the state root. Is that correct, Dan?
Yep. Yes, I think if I understood correctly what you asked, I think yes, the answer is yes.
Yes. So what I would propose to change this actually is to store not the account hash, but actually the code hash and the state root into your this partial stateful node. So that doubles the size. So 64 bytes. It's now not 32 bytes. But what you can now do from the bulk access list, you now know the changes in the nonce and the balance, so you can actually reconstruct the new account tree because you already have the code hash and the state root. Oh wait, no, there's a problem with that because you need
But
the state root. Yeah.
I think for post state that would be correct what you say, but I don't think for pre state. Would it be correct for pre state?
Yeah,
Would it
sorry.
be feasible?
Yeah, no, I need to think about this a little bit longer. Yeah, let's take this async.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do that.
Okay, thank you.
Let's have a discussion. I can set up a Discord group between the three of us first, and then we can hash that out a bit. And yeah, it's great that we have brought it up. Thanks a lot, Dan.
Perfect,
And
guys.
then
Thank
we
you for
can,
listening.
of course, thank you very much. Yeah, this is then already the last agenda item that we had for today's call. Is there anything else the clients would like to bring up that we should discuss today, especially focusing on DevLet 3 coming up? Awesome. Looks like everything is clear. Then thank you very much, everyone, for attending the call, and see you in 2 weeks.